Turn to Ecclesiastes 5, 10, and 11. While you're turning there, I have some words of wisdom for you. What do you call an honest man in the Oval Office? Lost. If pro is the opposite of con, is progress the opposite of Congress? Politicians in diapers have one thing in common. They both need to be changed regularly, and for the same reason. Never ever be late. So one time a priest was being honored at a retirement party after 25 years at a parish. A local politician and member of the congregation was chosen to make the presentation and give a little speech at the dinner. However, the politician was delayed. So the priest decided he would say some of his own few words while they waited for the politician. The priest says, "I got my first impression of the parish from the first confession I heard here. I thought I'd been assigned to a terrible place. The very first person who entered my confessional told me he had stolen a television set, and when he was questioned by the police, he lied to get out of it. He had stolen money from his parents, embezzled from his employer, had an affair with his boss's wife, taken illegal drugs, gave VD to his sister. I was appalled. But as the days went on, I learned that my people were not all that bad, and they're actually pretty good people. So I've come to the conclusion that I came to a very fine place of good and loving people." Just as the priest finished his talk, the politician arrived, full of apologies of being late. He immediately began to make the presentation and gave his talk. "I'll never forget the first day at our parish when the priest arrived," said the politician. "In fact, I had the honor of being the first person to go to his confessional." Moral of the story is never ever be late. Last one. A guy looked at my Corvette the other day and said, "I wonder how many people could have been fed for the money that sports car cost." I replied, "I'm not sure. I know it fed a lot of families in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where it was built. It fed people who made the tires. It fed people who made the components that went into it. It fed the people in the copper mine who mined the copper for the wires. It fed the people at Caterpillar who made the trucks to haul copper ore. It fed the trucking people who hauled the plant to the dealer, hauled it from the plant to the dealer, and fed the people working at the dealership and their families. But I have to admit, I guess I really don't know how many people it fed. That's the difference between capitalism and welfare mentality. When you buy something, you put money in people's pockets and give them dignity for their skills. If you give someone something for nothing, you rob them of their dignity and their self-worth. Capitalism is freely giving your money in exchange for something of value. Socialism is having the government take your money against your will and giving it to someone else for doing nothing. So, last time we talked about budgeting. Spent a lot of time on budgeting. Budgeting is pain. It's not fun. It takes discipline, but it's very necessary. We did talk about happiness and joy does not come from having money or being rich. My dad is very poor, but he didn't know he's poor because everybody was poor. I didn't have any money when I was in college, but I was happy. I had a lot of fun in college, but I had to save money to buy a soda. It was not fun being poor. I've had money, and I've not had money. Having money is better. There's no question about it, but it doesn't give me happiness. What does God say about income and expenses? Does somebody have Ecclesiastes 5, 10, 11? I want to read that for me.
"He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. With this is also vanity. When goods increase, they are increased that eat them, and what good is there to the owners thereof, saying, the beholding of them with their eyes."
So said Solomon, the richest man in the world. God says to make money for the love of money will never satisfy the amount of money is made. Making money for the wrong attitude is wrong. We all know 1 Timothy 6:10 says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil." God says that he that loveth abundance is vanity. I think God is saying that if you love the benefits of spending, we all know the rush that you feel when you spend something and get something good. You feel good about it, right? But buying stuff and spending stuff is for just to have cool stuff is vanity, and it's pleasure for ourselves. Last week we kind of left off with the thought that financial problems are very stressful, and we should rely on Jesus for peace, because Jesus is the only one who gives us peace. Peace is very hard to obtain if our bills are greater than our cash flow, and it's not Jesus' job to take care of our spending. That's our job. Jesus is not going to give you money for not working, but Jesus will give you peace and happiness and contentment in every situation you are in if you do your part to control spending. And you trust in Jesus for contentment. The peace and contentment will come to you whether you're poor or rich. Luke 3:14 says, this is John the Baptist talking to some of his followers, and the soldiers likewise demanded of him, saying, and what shall we do? And he said to them, do violence to no man, neither accuse any falsely, and be content with your wages. John the Baptist says, be content with your wages. Like we said last time, it's not an income problem, it's a spending problem. Philippians 4:11, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. Okay, this is not me talking, right? This is Paul. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. We all know that Paul was probably on the top of the world when he was a Jew and working for the priests, but he later been punished and punished and put in jail, and even then he still says, whatsoever state I am, therewith I am content. He also said in 1 Timothy, a godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we carried nothing out. And having food and raiment meaning, one commentator read says, raiment means not only just clothing, but also shelter. So having food, shelter, and clothing, let us be therewith content. But if they will be rich, fall into temptation and a snare, and many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred in the faith and pierced themselves through many sorrows. Hebrews 13:5 says, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have, for he has said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. The Bible says that Jesus will be our contentment if we let him. If we trust in Jesus, we can be happy in whatsoever state we're in. But it's up to us to control ourselves. It's not sinful to have money. It's certainly not sinful to work hard, because God sent us on this earth, and he said he put Adam in the garden to do what with it? To work with it. He wasn't just to sit there. He's supposed to work the thing. Like we discussed last time, managing finance is not about making more money. Managing finance is about spending less than you make. I look at spending kind of like sin. Now, spending is not sin. I guess anything that's gluttonous can be sinful, but it's like sin in that spending provides us pleasure for a season. And didn't God say that sin is pleasure for a season? So is spending. It's pleasure for a season, and then it goes away. It's our job to control our spending. If you control yourself and be content with limited spending within the limits of your income, the Bible says you will have financial freedom, and with Jesus you can have peace. Do not be covetous of other people's stuff or the things they do, because it will lead to financial peril. Does anybody have to train a kid how to lie? No, they have that gift. You have to train that out of them. I look at spending the same way. Do we have to be trained to spend money and get stuff for us? No, you have to train yourself out of that. So while it's not sinful necessarily to be spending, it's like sin in that you get pleasure for a season. Last time we talked about 2 ways to control spending. We talked quite a bit more about budgeting. But one of the other ways was to spend way less than you make. And if you spend way less than you make, it will be a good financial plan, and you will have excess money. When you need it, you'll have that money. But I warn you about being a minimalist, being somebody who spends way less money than they make. while it's not a bad financial plan, being a minimalist can make you to be a miser. And what does God say about a miser? Deuteronomy 15:7 says, "If there be any among you a poor man, of one of thy brethren, with any of thy gates, in thy land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth." Being a miser is not going to be pleasing to God. So, like anything that's good, sugar, salt, you can argue whether it's good or not, but a little bit is good, right? It tastes good. But what does too much sugar and salt do to you? It's not good for you, just like anything else. So, controlling your spending so much that you don't take care of your brother, or you're a miser, will also make you miserable. Miser is a root word of being miserable. So you also have to be careful. While a little bit is good, too much is not good. Alright, so I want to talk a little bit about investing. Good, I got time for it. Now, I am a CPA, and people think CPAs know everything. We don't. We have a special skill in a certain area, and they think, I told somebody who's out working on some drain pipes in my house, and nice guy, and he asked me what I did. I said, CPA. He goes, "Oh, you know what I should invest in?" "No, you don't. I'm not an investment advisor." Those are people who are actually people trained to be investment advisors. I am not one of them. I don't pretend to be one of them. Although I do know some stories, and I do some principles I want to share with you that you might want to think about when investing. When you have extra money, what I told you to plan for your budget is to have extra money for your future. Things happen. You get sick. Cars break down. Houses break. Furnaces go out. Air conditioners go out. You need money for those kind of things, and those really aren't normally in your monthly cash flow, right? So, like last week, my plumbing went out. That was $5,000 because the plumbing was stuck and it was starting to stink. So I had to have that done. $5,000 just is my normal cash flow, right? I've got savings for that kind of stuff, and I was able to pay that and get that taken care of. Thank goodness, right, Patty? Right. Also, many people work hard for what long-term goal? A lot of people want to retire. And if you want to retire, you need to have money to retire, because once you retire, the money stops coming in because you're not working anymore, right? So you need to have money in order to retire. How much money do you need to have to retire? And that all depends on you. Everybody's different. I need a lot because I told my kids when they were young, study hard, get good grades, get a good job so you can support me. I'm expensive. One son is a pastor in Nashville, and the other works in construction in Orange County. I had to keep working for quite a long time. There are many people who also say, "I'm never going to retire. I'm going to work till I die," and that is also a good plan. I try to find anything in the Bible to say, should I retire? Anything about retirement? Is retirement a good thing or a bad thing? I came to the conclusion, isn't it? It's not good or not bad. It is not bad to work until you die. In fact, early retirement with nothing to do is one of the dumbest things you can possibly do. But in order to get in a position to retire, you need to have the money to do it. And so you need to save that to do that. But what if you plan to work forever and you don't really have control of your health? Maybe you can't work forever. Shouldn't you also, even if you plan to work forever, which I agree is a very good goal, you stop working, the brain stops working. So that's not a bad goal, but there may be some things outside your control, such as your health, and you can't work and you can't generate income. So I would say that you need to plan for retirement, whether you plan to retire or not. Does that make any sense? When can you retire? When you have enough money. How much money do you need? That's something you really have to figure out. Everybody's different. I did find, though, that in Leviticus chapter 27, there is a Hittite vow. And it talks about when you take that vow, you're supposed to pay 50 shekels a year from age 20 to age 60. And from age 60 and thereafter, you only pay 15 shekels a year. Does that mean that from 20 to 60 you're working and then from 60 on you're retired? I don't think so. That's the closest thing I could come to it. So is retirement wrong, or is it bad, or is it good? I don't think it's either. It's what do you want to do and what are you going to plan to do? What I would say, you need to plan for it, whether you plan to do it or not. So if you're going to need money to retire, you're going to have to budget for that and plan for it and make it happen. You can't just let it happen. My dad would say, and my dad, he grew up in the 30s in the Depression in Mississippi and Alabama, and his dad was a repairman and a cotton picker. They didn't have a lot of money. So I would say, or a lot of people would say, my dad was thrifty. More people would call it he was cheap. But his principle was, for every raise you get, save half of it. So half of the raise is more than you had before. Use that for your normal spending, and the other half put in savings. Not a bad strategy. Doesn't work for everybody. I didn't plan on it that way. I didn't work it that way, but it's still one strategy to work with. And everyone is different. You need to figure out for yourself. And maybe if you can't figure out for yourself, you get some competent advisors or people that's how they make money, is they sell their advice. And if that's not your forte, get some help. So whether you're an employee or you own your own business, you got to figure out how to save money. And one of the best things you can do is take advantage of any government tax deferral plans you get. Everybody's heard of a 401k or IRA, an individual retirement account. Whatever plan you can use like that, take advantage of those. Many employers will encourage savings by matching some of your savings that you put into their pension plan. Take advantage of those as much as you possibly can. I think you're silly to not do that. They're giving you free money. I don't think a 401k alone that your employers provide, say, oh, I'm putting in the maximum amount in my 401k. You need to figure out, is that going to be enough? There's some estimates involved, there's some planning involved, there's interest in figuring out how interest works so that you can figure out how much money you need that you can take out later. It's hard work to figure that out, but once you figure that out, you budget it in and stick to it. Don't compromise that budget. I think it's as important as food, shelter, and clothing, because while maybe it's not today's food, shelter, and clothing, it's this post-retirement, post-inability to work food, shelter, and clothing. It's so very important to do. Couple things to avoid. Avoid at all costs a get-rich-quick scheme. Avoid at all costs. Run from them. A person says, I got a deal for you. No, the deals for you is really a deal for them. They make it sound good. They make it sound like you're just going to be rolling in the dough, and so very rarely are you not going to be rolling in the dough. A friend of mine, when the stimulus checks come around, he got $1,200 from a stimulus check, and he and his wife decided, that they're comfortable that he's my plumber, right? So he's talking about what he did with that stimulus check. He goes, I didn't really need it. So what did I do? I bought cryptocurrency, and it tripled in value. Okay? Now, was he wrong in doing that? It was money he didn't need. He hadn't planned for. He wasn't taking away from his saving, his food, and his clothing. If he lost it all, he's fine. So if you're in that situation where you've got money that if you lose it all, it's no problem, okay, take a flyer. All right? I would never invest in cryptocurrency. I don't understand it. And I understand a lot about cryptocurrency. Our firm audited companies that mine for cryptocurrency. You say, mine for it? You'd shovel and dig up? No, you mine it by figuring out complex mathematical problems, and when you solve the problem, if you're the first one to solve the problem, you free up some cryptocurrency that goes into the pool of all cryptocurrency. So, what I understand about cryptocurrency is it's a bunch of zeros and ones. All computers are built on either on or off. Everything comes from it's either on or it's off. Zeros and ones. A bunch of zeros and ones makes a blockchain. And cryptocurrency is in a blockchain. You can figure out who bought what and for how much they paid for it and all that kind of stuff. A dollar bill, this is a $20 bill. It's worth $20. I know what I can get in the store for it. But is this piece of paper worth anything? No. Is cryptocurrency in itself have any intrinsic value? No. It's only worth something if it will allow you to exchange it for something of value. I don't know how much longer it's going to last. It may last forever. I don't understand it, so I don't invest in it. But that's me. And it worked out for my plumber because it was not money he was planning on investing. It was free money. He said, okay, I'll just do it. I would say most investments come from the principle or from the root of companies who go public. And by going public, that means they take the public's money and then they employ that money to hire talent, to buy equipment, to expand their business, and to make their business grow. And when they grow, that money that they earn is now part of your earnings if you buy the stock that they sell, the ownership in their company. Most big companies are publicly held. They've got money from the public because they couldn't finance it themselves, right? No bank would lend them that much money, so they sell money in the public markets. So, and the other major investment is fixed income investments like bonds. So you have stocks and you have bonds. Most investment products come from some combination of somebody else investing in those companies, either in their stocks or the debt that they raise in bonds. I'll go one last thing on cryptocurrencies that I learned not too long ago. Is there's many cryptocurrencies. There's not just Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's many of them. 95% of all cryptocurrencies are based on fraud. They're fraudulent. Many people go into jail over them, but the law hasn't caught up with them yet. That's why there's so much in cryptocurrency. So if somebody says, I got a deal for you in crypto, I would run away. I wouldn't invest anything that would hurt me, that's for sure. Okay, another thing that people will make sure we're doing, all right, I'm not going to get to the real story here of investing. I'm going to say that for last time, unfortunately, but I am going to warn you about investing in something you shouldn't. I'm hearing on the radio these days about, maybe I shouldn't give too much away. I mean, I really don't know about it, but I know that is a plan. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Spend one plan, 2 hours a day, trading 3 options on 3 stocks. Well, I know a lot about stock options. Stock options is if you buy a stock option, you're buying a right to buy a stock for a fixed price. So if that stock goes way up, you can buy it for that fixed price. Even though it's way up here, you can pay this. And you pay money for that right. Well, that's a call option. There are also put options. A put option is an option that you sell that allows you to put a stock back to somebody at a fixed price. So if that stock goes down, you can still sell it for this fixed price, but you pay for that right. One common investment strategy that brokers like to convince people to do is this: if you want to buy a stock that's maybe trading right here, why don't you sell a put option? Because selling a put option gives you money. If the value of that stock goes down, okay, the person who bought the put option puts that stock back to you and makes you pay for it at this price. But because you sold that option, you effectively bought that stock at the price that's less than what it's trading at because you sold the put option. Am I making any sense? People will say that it's a good way to buy a stock because you're going to pay less for it because you can get the proceeds from that stock option. If the price of the stock goes up, they're not going to put the stock back to you, right? Because, hey, the stock's worth more than the price. But in the meantime, you get to keep the sale of the put. Sounds good, right? You can make that sound really good. Think about this a second. I sold somebody the right to give me the stock if it goes down. So if it goes down, I bought a loser stock. And if the stock goes up, I didn't buy it. All I get is the profit from the sale of the put. I didn't get all the proceeds from the benefit from the stock going up. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. but you can make it sound good, and a lot of people do it. Stock options are a thing that there's a winner and there's a loser. Unlike investing in a stock, if the company does well, pays out dividends, the value of the stock goes up, everybody wins. Sort of a win-win thing. A stock option, though, there's a winner and a loser. You're not investing in the stock itself. You can get the benefits with a very little amount of money of an increase in stock by buying a stock option. So, for example, this won't be an exact example, but let's say I pay $100 for the right to buy General Motors that's trading at $500 a share. Okay? And it goes up to $600 a share. Well, for that $100, I can control maybe 1,000 shares. So I didn't pay for 1,000 shares at $500, but for that $100, I get the benefit of 1,000 shares going up. So a stock option is a good thing to do to invest in. But again, there's a winner and a loser in every stock option. So you're on one side of the stock option, and a professional trader is on the other side of the stock option. Who's going to come out ahead in the long term? So be careful of anything on the radio or anybody that comes up to you and says, "If I got a deal for you," what they really mean is, "I got a deal for me, can you help me out?" That's what it's about. So if you're looking to try to seek an investment alternative, work with somebody that you seek out, not the person who seeks you out. Don't answer an ad, don't ever do some research, talk to people who have investment advisors or have brokers. Next time I'm going to give you some investing strategies or an investing strategy where you don't need a broker. Let me tell you, the financial investment advisory profession takes $140 billion per year. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from the investors, paying them to buy the stocks that they need. That's a lot of money. That comes from you, the investor. So maybe there's other ways we can talk about that next time. Let's bow as a word of prayer.